from leathernecks to petticoats in the U.S. military today. From leathernecks to petticoats in one generation. The new military under George Bush. The endless war and the meltdown of the U.S. Navy. Now, let's talk about the U.S. military for a minute. It's very easy to sit here and wave a flag and say, I support the military. I support the troops. We have the greatest military in the world. A military is only as good as its leadership. We may have some of the bravest men in the world, some of the best trained men in the world. We have the absolute worst leadership in the history of the United States military. Do you know that there have been over 70 hijackings off Somalia of ships? And that Somali pirates have hijacked a supertanker hundreds of miles off the Horn of Africa. They've seized the Saudi-owned ship loaded with crude and its 25-member crew. And the U.S. Navy had nothing to say other than, oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. I've never seen anything like this. We had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, some big... I'm ready to start throwing things in this studio. We have never had such weak-kneed leadership in the history of the U.S. military, ever. Never mind during a time like this. Mr. Mullen, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, when he heard that the pirates had seized another ship with $100 million worth of oil, was quoted as saying, oh, my, they're so brazen. Oh, my, those pirates are so well organized. Oh, my, there's so little we can do. Oh, me, oh, my, once they've done this, we don't know what to do with the U.S. Navy. Oh, me, oh, my, let me dash off to China and see if I can do some joint China-U.S. affairs. Oh, my, I'm so busy. Oh, my, I have a run to a cocktail party in Georgetown. Oh, me, oh, my, I'm the chief of everything, but I don't know how to fire a gun. Oh, me, oh, my, I'm the chief of everything, but I'm so terrified of everything that I won't order my men to do a thing. Oh, me, oh, my. That's what we have now leading the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's what America has become. Now, let me remind you again. The U.S. Navy was created, if I remember correctly, in the early 1800s, precisely because Somali Muslim pirates were seizing cargo ships, U.S. and European cargo ships. There was no U.S. Navy at the time. And so the government at the time said, we have to protect our merchant ships. We're going to create, if the pirates have these great ships with ruthless crews, we are going to build greater ships with more ruthless crews. That's how the U.S. Navy was born. So they got the toughest men off the worst streets of America. Mean cutthroats. Mean killers. Let us say the toughest men of their time were pressed into service in the U.S. Navy. There was no affirmative action. There was no women, and there were no women in the U.S. Navy giving birth on the ship as a social experiment. There were no classes on diversity on the ship. They got the meanest, toughest bums they could find, and they said, you're in the Navy now, mister. And then they went out to the coast off Somalia, and when they found the pirate ship, you know what they did? They sank it, or they boarded it and cut the pirates' throats. And that's the birth of the U.S. Navy. You know what we become now under Mr. Mullen? Oh, my, those pirates are brazen. Oh, my, we didn't think they had such a reach. Oh, my, there's very little we can do once they've seized the ship. Oh, me, oh, my, I have to rush off to Georgetown to another cocktail party. Oh, me, oh, my, we never had such bad leadership in the United States military in history as we have now under George W. Bush. Now, if Mr. Obama wants to really make some change, and Mr. Obama wants to give America some hope, the first thing you ought to do is put a leader into the U.S. Navy and a leader into the U.S. Joint Chief of Staffs that understands that a military is designed for one thing only, and that is to kill the enemy and capture the enemy and to preserve America's freedoms. It is not designed for social engineering. It is not designed for diversity training. It is not designed, for example, in the Navy to be floating laboratories of birthing classes. That's one man's opinion. I'll be right back.
Savage.
Now, what do you do with pirates? Okay, let's analyze it. We're sitting here. They've seized the tanker. It's 3 times the size of a U.S. aircraft carrier. There's Mullen again. It's 3 times the size of an aircraft carrier. You hear? I don't want to tell you, an aircraft carrier has about 100 F-A-18 Hornets on it, and God knows what else, but it's 3 times bigger now. Now he's dealing with size. It's all these so it's a huge supertanker laden with oil. It has very little defensive crew on it, and the Somali pirates board it, and they say, give us a ransom or we're going to start to kill the crew. If you board the ship, we'll blow the ship up. How do you deal with a situation like that? What do you do with it? Well, my lads, you deal with it the way our men dealt with it hundreds of years ago. You say, all right, my friend, we'll be back in a while. We're heading to Somalia right now. We're going to take your whole darn village hostage. Your women, your children, your grandfather. We're going to take your entire street. Fire with fire. You want to play terrorist? We're bigger terrorists than you are. Here goes your wife. Here goes your son, and there goes your village. You like it? That's what a military's supposed to do. It's not supposed to have MBAs running it, sitting there crossing their legs and discussing it over tea and crumpets. You understand why this country is a sad sack right now? You have any idea what's going on in the country right now? What George Bush has done to the military? Yeah, don't tell me about it. There's a way to deal with them. Remember when the hostages took those students hostage in Russia, the Chechen separatists? Now, if we had weakling Yalis running if Russia had weakling Yalis running the Russian special forces, the Spetsnaz, you know what would have happened? The Chechens would have taken over all of Russia. But instead, they had the former head of the KGB running Russia. And he knew who he was dealing with. He sent in the meanest, toughest men in the world. He sent in special forces. And you know what happened. Sure, some hostages died. But every one of those rotten bums was killed on the spot. Not one of them was taken out for a trial. Not one of them was taken out to give you a story about how he was manhandled. Not one of them with the burqa on came out crying about how, oh, we were manhandled by the Russians. No, they were all crucified inside that auditorium. That's how the Russians dealt with pirates. So don't tell me it can't be done. The problem is we have weaklings running America, which is why they're bailing out their friends on Wall Street, because not only are they weaklings, but they're criminals on top of it all. I'm just getting warmed up here.
15 men on a dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum. Drink and the devil had done for the rest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum.